All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to Books That Built Me, Authored Edition. I'm Antasia, Armour, and in this series, I'm diving into the pages I've written, the ones that shaped my healing, hustle, and higher calling. These aren't just books, they're pieces of my journey, my truth, and now yours. Y'all ready? All right, cool. I am too. So, episode one, finding myself in every sentence. And the book that we're focusing on is the one that I've written, which is entitled The Route 60 Memoir, written with Love Sapphire. And for the focus of this episode, identity framed through memoir writing. Now, how do you do that? It's not for everybody, so we're really not going to even touch on that. What we're going to do is focus on identity. How did writing this book shape my identity? How was I able to have an identity that was based around what I wrote? So that now has become a part of an author. Now I'm considered an author, and I expanded the author into coaching. And when expanded how a book can make you glow as an accessory, and people want to find that energy drawn to, then we go into that coaching to figure out, okay, you're drawn to certain things, then why not get them? If you're drawn to a certain point in time, why not go there? Another example of identity that frames some things. Everybody's doing reframing your identity, but myself personally speaking, how can you even realize that you even want to frame your identity a certain way? And personally speaking, it starts in childhood. I've always been geared to certain thoughts when it comes to dealing with things a certain way. And usually it's through art and writing. So find your niche. That's the very first suggestion, and then figure out how that frame of mind can really help myself. When I was dealing with my memoirs, I just didn't want to leave it how it was. It was something about just walking away and just not even trying to accomplish a goal or a dream or something that was considered a part of my dreams. I just totally felt obliterated. Like, this is not working out. Something about this form of behavior was so hard. It was so hard to find what I really wanted to do as a calling. And I'm guessing that's just a difficulty in really achieving something that's worthwhile. How telling your story reshapes self image. Yeah, because it's almost like you're down and out. It's like people are just living, graduating, doing everything, and then you're kind of sort of in the background. And if you are not choosing to focus on your own goals and what your dreams are, and everybody else around you is, even though you're like, wow, is this really what's taking place? Like, okay, bro, this has really been mostly your fault, but you want me to tell me that this is really how you rocking. So when you think about that self image, you start to realize that as I create this memoir, I put people inside that actually was the cause of some of the mental breakdowns or some of the mental issues that needed healing. So suddenly, and when you take the time out to actually do all of that, that's where you realize some of the drama was really real. That's where you realize that people were really trying to have a problem with how I saw myself. And did I choose to let people answer that for what it was, or was I going to answer that and then put their area appropriately and let them deal with the answer that was created? And you know the latter answer. If not, we wouldn't even be here. And that's really how I wanted to focus on that idea. And when you choose an outfit, this is your style prompt that honors your journey. What is it? Is it jeans? Is it denim? Is it high waisted? Is it form fitting? Is it House of CB? For me, it's House of CB. When I really was following some of my girlies, Amber Show, I haven't checked her out lately, but if you're new here, I really recommend that community as well. And when I realized that Amber Show was really into some of the traveling and entrepreneurship, I started to follow her a little more heavily. And by the time I learned about House of CB from Amber Show, I was placed at Nordstrom where I was able to buy House of CB with a discount because I was an employee. And so I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I can never go to the House of CB and just go and check out and ring out. And with a discount because I don't work there. I'm just a regular shopper. But since that brand was carried at Nordstrom, I was able to have, I want to say, like a 20% discount. So instead of paying 195, I probably paid like, I don't know, 150, 130 or something like that. And brand new pair of fox leather pants. And that's where I got really upset at one day. One of the ladies I was following earlier on YouTube as well, and she was seeing how she was going through, I think I want to say Anna Reed. So if you're new to this community, I definitely recommend checking out that community as well. She's a style fashionista type of young lady. So I usually follow some of the content creators that deal with certain particular niche that has to do with fashion, because fashion is a niche. And so she was discussing, in particular speaking, how we rather sometimes might want to learn to spend our money on authentic leather. It's more expensive, but it's less likely to easily become susceptible to certain type of damage versus fox leather, which is normally more prone to damage because the material is less of a higher quality, which I really found was kind of sad because House of CB is supposed to be a really high end luxury brand, but the fake leather from the fox leather pants that I bought were $195, $200, ended up ripping right at the seam. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is true. And this is what Anna Reed was saying, because usually some of this fox leather can be rather expensive, point intended, even though the pawn is there. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay, what is going on? So, again, the style prompt, though, I didn't want to get rid of them. I did try to hem them and fix the hole or where the rip was. And then I also tried to take them in as well. So, that's some of the ways that you can figure out how your necessarily, so to speak, outfit will honor your journey and the things that you've been on. And that's particularly speaking how you choose to do things. You have to move and maneuver a certain type of way in order to have these become in fruition and or manifested. So, again, telling your story reshapes self image. Without those pins, my self image is a little bit less confident. Without those necessarily, so to speak, images that give off a portrayal of a confident, upright, successful woman in comparison to who people try to destroy, then you can notice that there's stark differences. One is pretty, one is ugly, one is considering a higher level of education, one is stuck on stupid. You have those moments where you're kind of sort of like, okay, wow, what's going on? Or you can have other intellectual moments where you can understand as well. When you begin to write your story through a memoir, you can see, you will actually begin seeing that your love life compared to somebody else's is stellar when you realize that a person may have had all of these opportunities, necessarily, so to speak, and took most of them for granted. So now they become so warped in reality that is basically not even existent, even though it appeared that it does. And then you have those moments as well where those jaw-jarring, shocking, rude awakenings of thoughts and memories of how we really conducted ourselves really begins to tell a story. And it really stems really far. I mean, we dogged out Christ so badly. We've dogged out myself. I'm just going to say it horribly. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be here. There have been times where females, I mentioned this before, you can go back to it if you like, has pulled my hair out from the root. Okay. And I mean, big, large balls. Bald. I mean, baby butt bald spots. Okay. I mean, it's really been a very identity framing through memoir writing. So now you have to think about this as a form of self care, because letting the pants just sit there is a form of self neglect. Having, and of course, if you have so many issues, you know this is why you need these things now, and nobody else was able to do them because they weren't strong enough. They didn't believe in it strong enough. The young lady who rang me out, Aquanita, was like maybe a 4X, so you can't even fit them, but you're a beautiful girl. So now we have to deal with that issue. And then you have those moments and times where people are just so unaccustomed to dealing with one another, they can't ring you out. And so it slows down the process or it can speed your process up as well. So memoir writing is really a form of having an identity that was basically shaped by sitting down and hammering out every last detail as it goes that we went through finding myself from every single sentence. And that's not necessarily a normal of finding myself in every sentence, but for me, it worked. For me, it works because what I learned is that every time I was really hurt, it was easy to find pen and paper and simply jot down, yeah, well, today, Shantia, may have made a comment about Dontavius and I left in tears, or it can be just as simple as that. But as soon as I find now that I put these people immortalized inside of a memoir, now it becomes more so the main character energy is more so about how can I battle and go ahead on and get these others up off me and these dudes up off me with a harassment and go on about my business and scale these millions. And that's necessarily so that you how you necessarily do those type of things, because they can continuously come at you. They're going to continuously ask and come up after your man. They can continuously be bothered by the success that you have. And when you understand this about yourself, it becomes easy to hammer out page after page. And when you eventually arrive at the divine end point, the ideal of a completed novel, 70,000 plus words, 75,000 plus words, okay, you really didn't realize that you didn't been through some damage, and you have really had to figure out your identity frame through memoir writing. So that means now that you looking at me and people think that you got it going on, but they assume the wrong thoughts and give the right ones to the swine makers, so to speak, necessarily. And now it says, so okay, so you gonna just treat me like I'm a piece of swine. So okay, now you got to go inside of here and I'm gonna make you really pop out. And that's just what it is. You're gonna isolate, well, but I'm gonna make you pop out. Oh, okay. You're gonna go ahead on and get all high as a kite so you can go ahead on and shrink back. People probably won't see you. I'm too busy hitting this blunt. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead on and make you pop out still anyway. Now I got to put every single detail that took place in that sense that you tried to play. So when you identity frame through memoir writing, it becomes easier to handle and accept. How telling your story reshapes self-image. It does, because now becoming the main character is a practice for accepting the attention that comes along with being yourself. And let me like for people who struggle with the courage to actually act authentically, why this is so difficult for you. I'm gonna put you onto some game for a second. How telling your story reshapes self image is what you need to do in order to become the woman that you're meant to manifest. Okay. So, I mean, when you really sit down and you say, she wears this color, she wears this particular brand, she goes to this particular space, she comes out with a certain type of energy, she acts and behaves a certain type of way, you have a map out a blueprint for who they tried to destroy. But at the same time and token, you have an inner force and energy that is arming itself with arsenals. And I call it a black bag that is hidden inside. And as soon as, okay, you put the pen down, you put the book down, you put anything else down, you know that's where you turned. So now, as though you write to the point where it's almost as though you're possessed because you have yet to let the pen down. And it has actually accumulated millions in scaling. Do you understand that type of power? So that's what I mean by how telling your story reshapes your self image. Because the more that you write, the more that your story is being told. That means you're shaping this reality to a point where it attracts so much money that what they tried to destroy was something that was so powerful that it simply retarded their own efforts and not yours. Because the end goal is that they ultimately want to manifest a similar success as you. Suzanne, it's really just as simple as that. And when they try to destroy something, instead of focusing on what they were supposed to have did, and you continuously write and not let your pen down, it makes you ahead of them because they turned their attention from where it was supposed to be. That's not right. You're not supposed to look to the right nor to the left. You're supposed to remain focused and maintain eye contact on what your goal is in order to succeed and live successfully in the life one that you were given. That's a boss buddy. Because bosses don't really have time to deviate into what the next female is doing. what the next man that's not your husband is doing, let alone wanting to get upset. Okay, so there you have it. All right, y'all. Thanks for spending time inside my story. If this book spoke to your spirit, please leave a comment. I love to hear what line lingered. And don't forget to subscribe for more truths from the titles that built me. And remember, your voice belongs on the page too.